seconds and counting.
Hey, what's good, guys? It's Clutch here and Timmy here, back in another video. And for today's video, we're talking about the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans just played their first preseason game against the New England Patriots last night. We ended up getting the win. That was a pretty good win. I mean, we controlled the game for the most part. In the first quarter, or like in the first maybe 10 minutes, it looked kind of like it was going to be iffy. It was going to be a slow game for us, offensively at least. But it kind of turned around. Davis Mills, he had himself a pretty good game. I mean, I'm not going to hate that he really can't. He had a good game. He had some good throws. He had command of the offense. Case Keenum came in. He did the same. He looked comfortable. I mean, he looked like what you would expect a 35-year-old NFL vet who started in different types of offenses to look. And then plus, to take into consideration, he was playing against like third stringers and fourth stringers and probably even beyond that. So, I mean, Case Keenum, under the circumstances, he had a good game. Davis Mills, under the circumstances, he had a good game. And C.J. Stroud, this is where it comes into question. I'm not going to say he had a bad game because I think it's unfair to him. I think he only had like 4 total throws with 2 completions, so it's not fair to judge that off of anything at all. I mean, the offensive line, it was pretty horrid for him. He barely had time to throw. I like the first offensive play call, like a quick little 3-step drop. Threw a quick out. I think it was to Nico Collins. Got an easy completion, easy yard. Just get comfortable. Get a completion under your belt, and hopefully it'll help you. And, I mean, I'm not going to say that wasn't the case because, again, the offensive line was pretty horrid, especially the right side. I think it was Mike Dieter at right guard, and then Austin Dekelus, or however you pronounce his name, on the right tackle. And both of those guys, you should really look for an upgraded secondary offensive line because that was not good. That whole right side of the line was terrible. I mean, pretty much for the whole game, too. It remained like that, even with their backups in. So, it wasn't that good. We really need Titus Howard back. And Marcus Cannon, I mean, he should be able to hold down that right side of the line. So, good thing we got those 2 guys there. And Juice Scruggs, he looked like he's ready for week 1. I mean, he looked phenomenal from the few snaps he did play. I think he played a total of 12 snaps on the offensive line for us. It looked like he had the snap count down. I mean, obviously, it is just preseason. They're not going to be doing anything crazy with the snap counts or anything. It's going to be basic snap counts, normal snap counts. So it shouldn't be anything too difficult between the quarterback and the center. But it looks like C.J. Stroud and Juice Scruggs has the chemistry, or they have the chemistry to snap the ball from under center. And a lot of times, a young rookie quarterback and a young rookie center, or even if one is the rookie, one is another, or if one of them is a rookie and the other isn't, a lot of times it's going to take time for them to get used to each other, especially taking snaps from under center. That takes a lot of chemistry, a lot of work, a lot of practice because, again, different snap counts, just not being comfortable snapping the ball to a guy, like maybe his hand is bigger than the previous quarterback he was snapping the ball to. And I don't know, different things, just a lot of things that go into it. Center is actually a pretty difficult position to learn. It's probably like the second hardest position on offense, in my opinion, outside of quarterback. And Jesus Christ, he looked comfortable. He looked like he was ready for week 1 again. Week 1, we were playing the Ravens, who have a dominant offensive line, who's even in talks, defensive line, that is, and who are even in talks to add Jadeveon Clowney. So that defensive line is only going to get better by the time we play them. And just Scruggs, again, he looks ready. He looks like he's able to take on blitzes. He's able to pick up stunts. There was one stunt where him and Kenyon Green had a good little combination there. I'm going to try to put that clip in this video if I'm able to. We'll see. If it's on Twitter, if I'm not able to, there was some guy, I forgot who posted it. He posted a thread about Juice Scruggs, or not a thread, but like a 2-minute little video breaking down Juice Scruggs' game from last night. And you can see Kenyon Green also in that video. He had himself a pretty good night too. I'm not going to say a good night, but he held his own. He did have a couple of, I don't want to say pressures, but he did kind of fall into the quarterback's lap a couple of times. Not fall into his lap, but just like allow interior pressure to come quickly. And you just can't have that. You really can't as a left guard. Second year, drafted pretty high. I think he was the 13th pick overall. He needs to be better, and I think he will be. Especially next to a guy like Juice Scruggs. I think he's going to get comfortable. Left tackle, I mean, He was solid. I think it was George Fant that started the game at left tackle. I may be mistaken. I don't really remember. But left tackle, he held his own. There was a couple plays where he also allowed pressure, but wasn't nearly as bad as the right side of the offensive line. That right side of the offensive line usually need to going to training camp, find a different formula because that right side of the offensive line was just horrid. Receivers, I mean, we saw what we needed to see from Tank. He was phenomenal. He had that one touchdown grab that showed his display of hands and awareness. I mean, he wasn't able to control the ball at first touch, but he was able to fall down. It kind of reminded me of the DeAndre Hopkins touchdown catch in the Steelers game on Christmas. I think it was Christmas Day. Obviously, it's a little bit different. DeAndre Hopkins used one hand and tipped it back to himself and whatever, caught it. But I mean, in the sense of being able to have that awareness. Being able to have that awareness of where the ball is, kind of tipping it up to yourself, and then still being able to come down with the ball. It kind of reminded me of that play. But Tank Dell, he showed his speed. He showed his route running. He had the cornerback beat all night. I mean, it was a great game to watch from Tank. Very exciting to see how he progresses into the season. And, of course, it's preseason. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play too much more in preseason. He'll probably just go with the ones a couple times, and he'll be done because I don't think Houston wants to risk anything. He's looked great. Why would you want to risk a potential offensive number 2? I think it would even be our number 2 wide receiver. He's looked great, but yeah. Nico Collins, not too much to evaluate off of him from last night. He had one catch only for 8 yards or something like that. He didn't show too much, but on that one catch, he did show his physicality. He just trucked the cornerback like 5 yards back after he made the catch. That was pretty fun to see. So he did show his physicality. John Mechie, not too much to display off of either. He did have a couple of routes where it looked like he was open, but the quarterback just couldn't get the ball to him. But it was great just to see him out there again. Everything he's been through, it was great to see him out there. But, I mean, I think that's pretty much enough of the offense. Head over to the defense, where, for me, it was the most fun I've had watching a preseason game on the defensive side in a while. I think it's a sign that the defense is going to be elite this year. And I don't think it's a far-off thing to say. The Athletic released something, I think it was Dane Brugler or one of the Athletic reporters or writers or whatever, but one of them put that the Houston Texans could have a top 10 defense, and I think they ranked them at exactly number 10. It was either number 9 or number 10 as the number 10 ranked defense for this upcoming season, that they could finish as a number 10 ranked defense or whatever, and I don't think that's far off. Again, they looked dominant. Again, they were playing like a second unit Patriots team for the most part in the first quarter. But considering how young and mixed up of vets that this defense is, I think they did a great job. Will Anderson showed some flashes for the time he did play. Jonathan Grenard had I think it was a TFL, or at least stopped him for minimal yardage. Pretty good tackle on a run play. Denzel Perryman looks comfortable. Christian Harris had he had a nice tackle. I don't think I really saw too much outside of that tackle. But guys like that, they all stepped up. They all played their part. One thing I do want to mention, Petrie, he had that one deep ball completed on him. I think it was Tyquan Thornton, former Baylor Bear, on another Baylor Bear that made the catch. One thing that Jalen Petrie needs to work on is not always going for the pick. Getting an interception, getting a turnover is always a necessity for the defense. But if you're not 100% sure you're going to be able to get the ball, just go and deck the receiver. Maybe he didn't want to feel like hitting his former teammate Tyquan Thornton from Baylor. Maybe you didn't feel like hitting him or like really injuring him. It is just preseason. You don't want to risk anything, even if it's on the other team's side of the ball. You don't want to risk hurting anybody else. Just have a clean, safe, good game. Maybe you didn't feel like hitting anybody like that. But in a real game scenario, you need to be able to just deck that guy. Make sure he doesn't catch the ball. Don't always go for the pick. And I think that's one thing Tyrann Mathieu actually does a really good job at. And that's kind of my comparison for him, being able to play all over the safety position, the box, deep, being able to play all over. I think that's a good comparison for Jalen Petrie. And one thing that Tyrann Mathieu is really good at is stuff like that, being able to read when is the right time to go for the interception and when is the right time to either go for the PBU or go for the hit. And I think Jalen Petrie needs to work a little bit on that. But again, it could have just been a preseason thing. Didn't want to risk anything. But this defense was elite. I think Derek Stingley was out there for 8 snaps on the defensive side of the ball, or maybe a couple more. But he didn't have any targets thrown his way. He did a good job. Steven Nelson, he had a great tackle. This defensive line in general looked like exactly what DeMeco Ryans has been preaching all offseason. Swarm, get pressure, do your job, and then the man next to you will do his job, and it'll make things much easier. Just stuff like that, and that was the case for the first unit team, the second unit team, even the third unit team. Everybody looked great. Kurt Hinish had himself a good game. Roy Lopez had himself a good game. Malik Collins, he had one push on the first couple of series that looked really good. This defense just looks great, and I hope it's a sign to come that this defense is going to be elite this year. And the secondary, if the defense isn't elite, I think the secondary will most definitely be elite. The secondary, they just look elite. They have playmakers all over the field. Jimmy Ward didn't get to play last night, but I'm sure if he did, you would have obviously seen his ability to play at an elite high level. But I mean, yeah, it was a very fun game. I think this defense really does have the potential to be top 10. When that list was put out, a lot of people, a lot of fans, a lot of general NFL fans are like, really, the Texans top 10, ha ha ha, just being like the laughing stock. But I don't think it's a far off thing. This linebacker core looks ready to go, full of energy. This defensive line, even with not many household names, I mean, outside of like Will Anderson, this defensive line really looks good. I really love what I saw from it. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all the takeaways. Yeah, let me know what y'all guys think down below in the comments. What players did y'all like to see? What players stood out to y'all? What were your favorite plays? Should y'all be worried about CJ Stroud? Me, again, I don't think so. You didn't get too much play time, and the offensive line was horrible. But yeah, it's been Clutch City Entertainment, and hope you guys have a good day. Peace.